Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about Chase Young and why I think he's had a disappointing season for the Washington football team. And no, I'm not saying he's been bad this year, just disappointing considering the expectations coming into 2021. And I'll also be talking about if I think he will be able to improve over the next season. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. Hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. It really helps out the channel a ton. And also make sure to check out WinView so you can enter some contests. I think a lot of Washington football team fans, myself included, expected Chase Young to have an absolutely monster second season for the Washington football team, and that just hasn't been the case. I mean, I predicted for him to get over 10 sacks, close to 13 plus sacks this season, and maybe even be in contention for Defensive Player of the Year. Not win it, but be in the top 7, top 10 at the end of the year voting. But so far, it hasn't been the case. I mean, if we want to look through his stats, and we all know sacks aren't everything, but when you are, a second overall pick in your second season, we expect, bigger things than what's happened so far through 8 games. He has 20 total tackles, 1.5 sacks, 2 batted balls, and 2 forced fumbles. Just hasn't had enough game-changing plays so far, especially the first few games of the season. The last 3 or so, he's done a little bit better, gotten a sack or 2. He had, I think, 2 games in a row where he had either a sack or half a sack, and the last game, at the end of the game, had a forced fumble, but it just isn't enough. If you look at Washington's sack leaders so far this season, Jonathan Allen has had a great year with 6, and not only is he getting sacks, but he's getting a ton of pressures, great in the run game. Montez Sweat's got 4, Deron Payne 2, Chase Young's got 1.5 sacks, and then James Smith-Williams and Casey Tuhill both have 1, and of course there's linebackers and safeties that have 1 or maybe even more as well. And then it's just not enough, and we still have over half of the season remaining. We got 9 games left for Chase Young to turn this thing around, but he's been a little bit underwhelming. And we can all talk about him being double teamed, him being double teamed a ton. His win rate is really good, which it is. His pass rush win rate and run stop win rate, according to ESPN, it's pretty good. It's actually very good, but that hasn't equated to sacks, and he is getting double teamed a ton. You guys can see his name right here with the pass rush win rate and the run stop win rate, but it just hasn't translated to sacks, and hopefully eventually it does. But so far it's been 1.5 sacks, and I thought this is a great point by Nati at DMV Sports Zone. He says, I still don't think we're talking about Chase Young only having 1.5 sacks through 7 games, and now it's 8 games. That's just unacceptable for a number 2 overall pick, generational talent pass rusher, no matter how many pressures and double teams you force. And that's the thing. We can talk about him getting double teamed, his pass rush win rate being super high, but at the end of the day, Aaron Donald is double teamed, triple teamed, and he still finds a way to get to the quarterback. And obviously, not everyone is Aaron Donald, but other pass rushers around the league, Khalil Mack a couple years ago, Von Miller a couple years ago, Myles Garrett now, TJ Watt, they're getting double teamed, they're getting chipped, and they are still getting sacks. And Chase Young was the 2nd overall pick. We have super high expectations for him, and that's why we're holding him to a high standard. I see Washington fans talking about, Chase Young has been a Jag this year, just a guy, and that's not true at all. Chase Young has been good this year, and there's no denying he's been good this year, but that is not what we expected out of him, not even close. We expected him to be great this year, to be an elite pass rusher, and he hasn't been that. He's been solid, he's been solid 1.5 sacks, a couple forced fumbles. He's been good in the run, really good in the run game actually, but he hasn't been a game changer. And the second half of last year, he was a game changer, and it's just unfortunate it hasn't happened so far, through almost the first half of the season. He has not been a game wrecker. We look back at the stats, 1.5 sacks, 20 tackles, and two forced fumbles. That's just not enough. I expected him to get over 10 sacks. I think most people did as well, and there's still time, but he needs to be better. You see the stat right here. I think he's been good in the run game. No missed tackles and over 1,000 snaps. I think, like I said, been good in the run game, but again, we picked him at number 2 overall, and he's got to be able to do more than that, and I think it will start to come. But I'm really thinking, I don't know if Sam Mills is the right guy for this defensive line to develop players like Chase Young and Montez Sweat, especially those guys who are young guys. Especially last year, Jonathan Allen, Matt Ioannidis, and some other guys had huge, big problems with, Sam Mills and how he, did things, his scheme, just the way that he asked his players to do things. And, maybe there's some merit to that. And I think Washington should definitely consider switching their defensive line coach after this year. They got a ton of talent, and they've been good this year. Don't get me wrong, especially the interior guys, but because they were exposed to, Jim Tonsula, who was a great D-line coach, and they learned, good pass rush moves. But right now, Chase Young and Montez Sweat, especially Chase Young, they're relying more on their athleticism instead of actual pass rush moves. And that is definitely on coaching. The defensive line coach has to be able to coach them up to, consistently beat these guys and, give them a set of pass rush moves and, especially a guy like Chase Young. And he hasn't been able to do that. Sam Mills has not done that. Chase Young doesn't really have great pass rush moves. He's, good at the bull rush. But besides that, he really doesn't have much. And that's on Sam Mills. And Montez Sweat is similar. He's got a little bit more, some more tools in his bag, but it's very, very similar. So that's something that if Chase Young finishes off the season with like 6 sacks or something, and he has a little bit better of a second half, but not dominant like we thought he would be, then that's something where maybe after this season, you consider switching your D-line coach, and I think that should definitely happen. You can find a guy out there that these players respect more than Sam Mills, but who knows? Maybe Chase Young turns it around. He hasn't been bad, but he needs to be much better because we do not, as a number 2 overall pick, like, Nati from DMV Sports Zone said, where we didn't, we don't want good. We want great out of the number 2 overall pick, at Ohio State, a pass rusher, and he's only had 1.5 sacks. I think it will come, though. He's getting the pressures. He's getting the pressures. He has the win rate. He's just got to convert that to sacks. He's helping the guys around him, but he's got to convert that to sacks. I mean, and, almost I'm saying he has 2.5 sacks because that play against the Falcons was just BS, but, it is what it is. He's got to get better, and, the sacks hopefully will come in the second half of the season. And hopefully he has a, monster second half of the season like he did last year, because last year, that second half, he was absolutely insane. Had 7.5 sacks last year, 4 forced fumbles, but, the second half of the season, he was on another level, and, partly because of his injury in the first half of the season. And that's partly why I thought he was going to have a monster season this year, because last year he had 7.5 sacks with, the injuries that he had to go through. Not only the groin injury that he had, but, the hip thing that, that those 2 injuries kind of lingered until like week 11. And then after that, week 11 on with, against the Bengals, he just balled out. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about Chase Young? And has he been disappointing to you? And do you think he will be able to turn around? I think he's, too athletic, and he's just he's a good player, and he's an amazing talent. I think he's too talented to not turn it around. It's just a question of when he's going to be able to do it. Is he going to be able to do it with Sam Mills as his coach, or is it going to take another coach to get the talent out of them? So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Peace, guys.